What's going on, everybody? LK here. They dropped the Bedman starter guide earlier today, basically like 12 hours ago or something. So like the other starter guides, I'm going to watch through the video, give some thoughts, and then add some analysis to what I think the character is going to be like. Now, the main unique thing about Bedman compared to the rest of the cast that's been shown so far is that Bedman is actually going to be playable at EVO Japan, and I'm planning on going to the booth, playing along with the character, take some notes, take some good old East Coast shaky cam footage. But for now, let us jump into the starter guide.
Error 6E. When certain special moves are used, Bedman enters Error 6E state. When in Error 6E state, a follow-up attack will occur after a certain amount of time elapses. The nature of the additional attack depends on the special move used. Error 6E state ends when the opponent's attack is either hit or blocked.
Alright, so there's a lot to talk about Error 6E, and you remember when they talked about Bedman, they were talking about automatic follow-up attacks. It kind of reminds me of Bedman's old mechanic. He had like deja vu, so he could leave icons on the screen and do the special moves from there. And frankly, one thing that I feel like ArcSys does a really good job of in Strive in general is just like really elegant ways of either like simplifying characters or getting characters' old mechanics into the game. So I remember we talked about this with like Milia, and I'm sure people talked about this with Bedman. And people talk about this with not Jacko, but Venom also. And to be honest, also Jacko, about like, how do you get these characters' mechanics in a game with stage transitions? So Bedman is yet another character who, like, what would you do? Would you just get rid of the icons or what? But this, you just get like special moves that activate automatically after a certain amount of time is like similar. And from what I've seen, he has manual control over the follow-ups as well.
Call 4BA. A projectile that flies straight toward the opponent. It homes in on the opponent's position to an extent. After use, Bedman enters Error 6E state, and the follow-up attack produced is a projectile that homes in on the opponent's position to an extent.
Alright, so here's what we got about this projectile, this 236P. So it looks pretty fast. I don't know if you can like go under it. It says it has tracking. We don't know how much tracking it has. Another thing I noticed too is that the follow-up move seems to be pretty clear. Like the game lets you know pretty clearly. So notice here how Bedman is kind of, the projectile is like white, like kind of like electricity kind of, where the normal projectile is kind of just like a little drill that he fires.
Call 4B3. A multi-hit strike with forward movement. It is easy to use in a combo from close standing slash or crouching heavy slash. After use, Bedman enters Error 6E state, and the additional attack produced is a forward-moving multi-hit projectile.
Alright, so next is this Call 4B3. It's kind of like a Beyblade type move. He had this in Exer 2. Didn't quite look like that. And I don't remember what the move was called. But this one looks pretty good. So outside of like mobility stuff, and you know, it's airborne okay. The thing that really stands out to me is that one, it gives him like a neutral skip type move. And specifically what I mean, it's like traveling special move RC. Like the assumption is that he'll be pretty good after gold burst situations. But then also the follow-up attack is quite different from the projectile. That multi-hitting explosion there that he does is quite different, and I would like to look at the properties of that, where the 236P I think is a little bit more straightforward with how he follows up.
Call 4B9. A strike attack in which Bedman uses its broken arm to attack with an explosion. On hit, it can knock down the opponent. Even if blocked, it will leave the opponent off balance. The attack's timing can be delayed by holding down the heavy slash button, making it useful on both hit or block. After use, Bedman enters Error 6E state, and the follow-up attack generates a forward-moving high-damage projectile.
Okay, so next is Call 4B9. So this move looks really good. So one, they said it's knockdown. Two, it pops up a lot. It makes me think that he has good conversion ability, like kind of like, you know, how Geo can combo everything into her 214K, her wolf kick. The person speaking in the video mentions my favorite mechanic. When you block this move, it'll leave you a little bit off balance, as he said. So aka Guard Crush, which we all know and love. Such a cool and sick mechanic that we all love. The charge on it is kind of interesting. It opens up pressure things. You know, anything that makes pressure less straightforward and variable is a good thing. And the follow-up attack seems pretty weird as well. Again, like the other one, it's not the same type of move. And for him in particular, you have to consider, since he is going to be ending his combos with this, he's always going to get this projectile after, so there might be like some pretty straightforward Oki applications when you pick him up. On top of that, that move knocks down as well, so there's his routing, I think, is going to be kind of like, while weird, it makes sense what you can do. But again, like the main variable is going to be how you control things and do things either early or automatic or late.
Call point 2. Makes additional Air 6E attacks occur immediately. Since the timing of the attack is different from the follow-up attack that occurs automatically over time, use it as a starting point for your offense or as mix-up. Call 1. Delays the timing of the Air 6E attacks. Once the opponent becomes familiar with the timing of the follow-up attacks that occur automatically over time, use Call 1 to shift the timing of those attacks and catch the opponent off guard.
Alright, so these two moves are really interesting. So like I mentioned before, this is like the manual immediate one. And then the follow-ups happen automatically if you do nothing for a while. We don't know the exact number. I guess like someone could literally count the frames in the video. I'm never that guy. I'm always waiting for the character to drop. And then the last is that you can delay it, but it's not manual. Like, so it still comes out automatically, but it comes out later than it should. And he has like a little fast, I'm gonna just shoot a number and be like, look, you know, like Jacko has like, I want to say hers is 19 frame, whatever the whistle is that she does, it's like that same type of thing. So there's a bunch of variety available here that I think is pretty interesting, because the character concept, at least like the first lines we heard about the character, was just like, oh, it's a character that does special moves, and when you do a special move, it automatically does another one. So you're like, what does that mean? That sounds mad straightforward and boring, but there's a lot of flexibility here. It looks like he has some full screen control, like I said, with the projectiles, ways of pulling up from a distance. A guard crush move, which is really fun, so at least he has his straightforward way of doing offense.
Call 13C. This move powers up the Air 6E follow-up attacks and Bedman itself. In addition to increasing Bedman's offensive and defensive power, hitting an opponent with the enhanced follow-up attack in the corner causes an area shift as if it were an overdrive. Call 13C state ends after a set period of time.
Okay, so this is a pretty weird move. I had to rewatch this a couple times. So usually they don't use like fighting game terms for this. So like okay, the offense and defense power are up. Okay, cool. But the main interesting things is, of course, the power up to the follow-up moves. We're familiar with this. There's a lot of moves like that in the game. The main thing that's unique about this one in particular is that the follow-up moves are supers. Like the follow-up moves break the wall. That basically does not exist in the game at the moment. So if you wanted a point of reference, for example, imagine if HC, I mean, I guess HC is kind of like this, but imagine if when you did super focus, all like the steady aim bullets just broke the wall immediately. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. It might not seem like a special thing, but after this power up, you'll notice that the follow-up attacks and stuff, you can't burst them, because they're treated as supers, so you just can't burst them straight up. So a pretty unique type of move for this game. So like there's plenty of installs in the game already, but this one stands out. They're trying some new stuff here.
Call 4CC. Bedman sends a massive shockwave forward. Since the startup of this move is invincible, it can be used in combos or to interrupt an opponent's offense.
And to top it off, we have the super. Nothing too crazy here. Just knowing that he has an invincible move. You know, like when HC dropped, HC doesn't have any reversals, thank goodness. So just good to know that he has like an extra defensive option when he has meter. So that's Bedman so far. Pretty interesting character. So I remember when Bridget came out, people were like, oh, a lot of people were expecting me to try Bridget, but I wasn't really that interested. But surprisingly, I kind of want to try this character. I don't know why. I have a feeling about Bedman maybe being like a crazy character. And then they have some kind of unusual stuff like the install super, making all the follow-ups act like supers was kind of cool. They didn't address like some stuff we're familiar with Bedman, like how Bedman has like an 8-way dash normally. So right now Zato has Bedman's air dash, for example, but they never do that with the starter guides. So if you have anything in particular that you want me to check at Evo Japan, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm basically just playing, and I have my checklist of things I tend to check for a character when they drop, but it's not like I'm at home in my room being able to do it. Like, it's gonna be like a public place, so I'm gonna try to get as much as I can. As usual, if you guys have any questions too, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Again, I have Patreon right now where I'm taking viewer request videos, and I post sets there early before I post the analysis over on YouTube. So if you want more content like that, definitely feel free to go to my Patreon. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.